Thank you. Hi, everyone. We heard already a lot about what happens if we forget things. For example, from John about his talk with cognitive bias, or also Burkhardt about society-centered design. I'm going to talk a bit about what happens if we forgot the end. So hi, I'm Diego, and I love dinosaurs, as you also can see on my t-shirt. I'm gonna read a quote who really inspired me. Endings are hard. Any cheap-ass monkey with a keyboard can poop out a beginning, but endings are impossible. You try to tie up every loose end, but you never can. The fan's always gonna bitch, there's always gonna be holes, and since it's the ending, it's all supposed to add up to something. I'm telling you, they are a raging pain in the ass. That's also how I feel when I start to think about how to design the endings. But everything has an end. While we really create rich and emotionally engaging experience at the start and invest a lot of energy, at the end, we normally forget about and rarely really design for it. So there is nothing. We have somehow a biased human experience. We know a lot about the start. We do targeting, onboarding. We really work that the flow is intuitive, step-by-step tutorials. We do everything that the usage go on forever, gamifications, and a lot of other buzzwords since we know. Somehow the closure experience is a black box, which no one is really thinking about. If we actually also even do stuff that we even don't allow stuff to end. So we have this biased view on an ending that it's like a single engagement and there's no ending possible. So a bit this religion or philosophy that we have to keep the customer forever. So endings for products, services and digital media, we just overlook. However, we really shouldn't do that. One of my favorite products, which we totally forgot the ending, is the printer. Easy to get the stuff to put inside, easy to use, and at the end, what do we do with that stuff? Well, we could say it was a new era, we didn't really know how to deal with that kind of problem. We learned out of it, and we never did it again. Well, I would say no, we did the same thing with the coffee cups. And we could say, okay, twice the same mistake, it's fine, we don't do it ever again. With electric scooters, we also forgot. But to be honest, it's not only a problem of the physical world. We have the same thing also in the digital world, where we actually forget about endings. What do we do if a search result page don't give a solution? All the people which are from Switzerland try to go to Migros online and delete your account. I wish you good luck to find it. And thank you pages. So we already converted, we have the money. Normally we just let the customers buy their own and buy, we don't care anymore. I'm gonna do a bigger circle. So all that are actually brand experience in a brighter way of looking on it. And we all know companies who invest in customer experience are successful. Show a graph, because in a talk you always need graphs. Same thing for design-driven companies. So let's talk a bit how brands and memory works. A memory is nothing else than a similar talk or a familiar talk through neurons. It helps a lot if there are emotions involved, because it has the potential that the memory keeps forever. So our emotions are a really big player when we try to decide. We already heard in a lot of talks that 95% of our behavior is driven by a system which has to react fast, and the emotions are fast. So we learn from all the experience we've made with brands and transfer them to the future to decide if we're going to do that ever again. So if an experience is coupled to emotion, which are called so-called emotional markers, it really influences how our behavior going to be. If they were really positive, we're going to do it again. If it was negative, normally we don't do it again. If you put your hand somewhere which is hot and you get burned, normally you don't try that again. So it really comes down that emotions are a big trigger for our behaviors. Our brain cannot focus on everything, so he takes shortcuts. To evaluate an experience, he always takes the peaks and the ends. So the peaks and the ends are one of the most important moments of our experience. Imagine you go to a restaurant, it was everything fine, the meal was fine, but you had to wait 2 hours to pay your bill. Somehow the whole experience, it's not that nice anymore. Same thing with marriage. You were married for 30 years, everything was fine, you split up, it takes you like 5 years, the divorce process. Normally the whole experience of the marriage was a bit shit. So it's concluded that the peaks and the ends are the most important moment. It doesn't matter how long the experience was. And anyhow, still we overlook the endings. Even if these endings are a big part of how we evaluate our experience and how we decide if we're gonna interact ever again with this brand or person. There's somehow this belief we should never let our customers go. Not surprisingly, people who try to leave a company or a brand, a lot of them make bad experiences. There is this expression, there is no second chance for the first impression. If we think about the peak end, it would mean we have to focus on the peaks. That's why people forget the ends. Well, sometimes it's hard. Peaks can break. Not all the people behave the same way. We hear that our design process is made to do for the mainstream. We forget the edge cases. Can be that their peaks are different. But that's not quite right. There are actually two opportunities how you can impress your customer. And the end is easier to identify because everything has an end. If we talk now about brand experience, we know that the brand experience influences the loyalty, direct and indirect. Since I was really interested in this, I did a survey by my own with 88 people to discover a bit, how much or how strong has this closure experience an impact on the brand experience. And was, for me, not really surprisingly, people who had a really positive closure experience were more likely to recommend the brand. But what perhaps is surprisingly, they were also more likely to engage again with the brand. An anecdote of the interview was that someone would say, look, Diego, I often quit Netflix, not because I hate Netflix, it's just in summer I have better things to do than watch TV. So I quit Netflix and in the winter I come back. I do that because they really did it easy to quit. And they digged on it and discovered that since Netflix allowed to quitting their service really easily, they increased the subscriptions and made actually more money by letting people go. People like to get surprised in the end, and it should feel good. Now, who of you who tried to leave a company got discounts who should motivate them to stay? Raise your hands. I asked these questions, and most of the people didn't remember anymore which brand did it. They just remember it happens, and it doesn't really feel good. Actually, they feel bad afterwards, asking themselves why I didn't get this discount earlier, since I was a loyal customer since 10 years. So let's take that, what we talked about, and flip it. If the closure experience is so important for the brand experience, actually the closure experience is one of the best ways to impact the loyalty. To repeat, our experiences are really different from our memory on it. It means we have an experiencing self and a remembering self, as explained with the peaks and the ends. And the remembering self has to take a shortcut. That's why it just remembers the peaks and the ends. So why do we forget to design the ends, actually? Well, there are many people. People react with rejection that things end. They don't want to believe that we're going to end or something going to end. They even try to ignore or avoid it. And if you look how our society evolved, we lost connection to death. At the beginning, death was omnipresent. You were living with your parents and grandparents in the same house, and deaths were there. You even had parents in some cultures, I think in Germany, which was not giving up to the second year when the baby was 2 years old the names, because it was so likely that the baby die. Closure was omnipresent too, because religion had a manual, how you had to behave and how the closure is going to be. If you're nice, you go to heaven. If you are mean, you go to hell. We don't going to discuss if that's a good or bad closure, but closure was there. Then medicine kicked in and started to control death and bring it more to the back. And science kills the God. So closure as a manual given to religion somehow got lost. And we started to hide death. We hid death in hospitals, and we were giving our grandparents out to elder houses. So we lost totally this connection to death. On the other part, we also lost connection to consumption, because closure at the beginning and consumption was connected. So I knew the guy who was doing my table. If I had a problem, I could go to him. I knew from where the materials go, and he also could help me if I don't need any more to table. I could give to someone else, and he was giving me a chicken for that. Industrialization kicked in, so now we not anymore knew the guy who was doing the table, and to help it out, now we also not anymore know from where the table comes from. So we totally lost this connection between closure and consumption. And we shouldn't, because it has a social impact if we deny and we don't know how our closures are designed, as we talked before, for example, with the coffee cups, and also an environmental impact. Now we can say, okay, with digital products, we don't have this problem. Well, our accounts, which are not used and we don't allow a closure, are actually contributing to a higher CO2 consumption, just because we don't design the ends and we don't think about the ends. So what do? We start crying, just run away and say, okay, everything is lost? Well, no. There are some examples who people already tried. For example, this one example of Xing, who tried to let people go and even say, it was nice to meet you, come back whenever you feel like. That's an example of a friend of mine who was chatting because he had a problem with the payment, and at the end they put a little funny thing because he's a Star Wars fan and said, may the force be with you. Or even Red Bull, I think it's Red Bull Germany, who to the people who tried to get a job and they said no to them, they wished them good luck and gave them energy and thanked for their time they spent it on the recruiting process. So we have to lose this religion about that we have just one single engagement, that we're going to keep our customers forever trapped in our company with our products or with our digital services. And start to think that we have multiple interactions, that it's a several engagement, and we start to considering endings, which actually has the positive effect that we increase brand loyalty. So instead of an one-off long-lasting engagement, we should try to design shorter engagements and really think about the ends. Creating good ends doesn't necessarily increase the dropouts. It just means we actually really care about our customers and our environment, and we say the same way goodbye as we said hi. Think like our customers are like guests of a dinner party. We say as nicely goodbye as we said hi when they came to the party. To quote someone big, We must all face the choices between what is right and what is easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. That was really nice. Good reminders. I'm going to check if there's any questions. Somebody's asking Nick, what is your opinion on? But that's not directed towards me. Does anybody have a question? I'll give it 30 seconds or so to type it in.
Yeah, hard to digest after lunch.
I think we're all afraid that of the ending of the talk. So
If you want to talk afterwards, scan the QR code and talk with me over LinkedIn. It's fine.
What's behind the QR code?
LinkedIn.
Oh, your LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Diego, thank you so much for the talk.
Thank you.